in Orlando because at home we are on the Central Time Zone. My name is Crystal Gary. I am a certified recovery peer specialist with an adult designation. I am also a person in long-term recovery. I work with Northwest Florida Health Network. I'm located in the Panhandle of Florida, and I serve 18 counties in total, from Escambia in the Pensacola area just east of Tallahassee in Madison and Taylor counties. This is my lovely co-presenter.
Hi, my name is Emily Day. I am too a certified recovery peer specialist with a youth designation. I work with the Department of Children and Families, Substance Abuse, and Mental Health offices. I also cover the same areas. Our jobs very much mirror each other, even though we work with two different departments. I'm a person as well in long-term recovery with my own mental health.
So welcome to Introduction to WRAP, Wellness Recovery Action Planning. Has anybody ever heard of WRAP prior to today? Yes, 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 yay. The acronym recently, okay. All right, so WRAP is an evidence-based practice that is recognized by SAMHSA, which is our federal entity, where Emily works for the Florida entity of SAMH, SAMHSA's equivalent here. So it's an evidence-based practice which tells us that we know that it works. WRAP was born in 1997. A woman named Mary Ellen Copeland developed this along with several other people when they realized that their voice and their choice had not been heard for their treatment. So they knew that they needed to make sure that they were being heard and they were involved in their planning for their treatment. So they developed WRAP, and what it is basically nothing about me without me. WRAP is done in every single state in the US as well as 81 countries around the world. Again, we know it works. WRAP saved my life. Had I not had this class and then went forward to become a facilitator for this curriculum, I wouldn't be standing in front of you today. It very much changed the entire trajectory of my life. What we do is we create these plans with WRAP, and we literally write down everything that we need to do to make sure that we can maintain our wellness.
So the plans encompass several different things. You go through different steps in order to put your plan together. And it's all about what you have within yourself. It's just putting what's in here down on a piece of paper. That way you have something to look over when you need a boost or whatever. The first part of it, when we go through the class, is we'll go over our key concepts, and we're going to go in detail in just a minute about what our key concepts are. And then you go on into your Wellness Toolbox. These are just things that you can use for your coping mechanisms. Like I said, it's something that you can go back and look at. I'm a tangible person. If I don't see it, sometimes I forget it. This is something I can do to make myself feel better, bring myself back up from the slump that I'm already in. And then you have your daily maintenance plan. I love this part probably because I'm a very methodical person. I plan mine from 8 o'clock in the morning till the time I go to bed. And it just gives me my step-by-step to help me keep myself in check of how to keep my wellness well. And then you have your triggers or your stressors and what you can do to combat that. Again, it's your coping mechanisms, your skills, and your tools that you can use to bring yourself back up. And it goes on into your early warning signs and your action plan with that, and then down to when things are breaking down, when you finally realize that you're not doing the best, you've ignored all the other signs, and it's time to start reaching out for some help. And the last part is our crisis and post-crisis plan when we build our plans. It is something that helps you know who to reach out to, how to combat all these things, who can be your supporters, and things like that.
Right. So we make these plans for anything. So people make them for their mental health. They make them for substance use. We have people that have created these for their wellness with diabetes. It doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter how old you are. Even our young ones have created WRAP plans to help keep themselves in line with their school. I have several diagnoses myself. Probably one of the best things for my ADHD is my WRAP plan, because I can look at what is causing my anxiety or my ADHD to be even higher than normal, and I have this plan in front of me, and I can see, okay, well, this is what's causing it, and this is what I need to do to bring myself back down to a more manageable level. Did everybody have a chance to get the coloring sheet packet that's out front? Okay, we'll pass these out to you guys too. The other one, I think that there was plenty of those ones.
One per person?
Yeah, they're all the same. So these are, it's not an entire wrap plan, but these have some of the information in them to create a plan. So there's a daily planning sheet that's in here, and there's places where you can set goals. Huh? Oh, yes. I do, yes. I guess that they were all gone from out there. You're very welcome. Okay. They're fun. So Emily touched on, we have 5 key concepts that are involved with this curriculum. So they are hope, personal responsibility, education, self-advocacy, and support. We go through them one by one and identify what each of them mean to us. So let's go with hope, because it's where it always starts. You gotta have hope, right? Gotta have hope in something. Emily, what gives you hope?
Well, lots of things. And when people ask me this question, a lot of times I look at my kids give me hope, of course, but then I also think outside of that, because I'm more than just a mom, I have to think about what personally gives me hope, and it's the fact that I continue doing better and continue stepping out of my own comfort zone, like today.
So we talk about what gives us hope, and then what do you hope for your life and for your wellness. So for my wellness in my life, I hope that I can continue to be a better mom, because whenever I get super anxious, I tend to snap, and the first thing I snap at usually is my kids. So for my wellness in my life, I hope to continue to become a better mother. I want to, do we have those tiny stickies? I'm going to hand out tiny sticky notes to you all. And what I would like to invite you to do is on these stickies, if you will write down something that you hope for your own wellness in your life. Go. Go. Here you go. You're very welcome. You're very welcome. Here you go. So for my wellness in my life, I hope. And when you write that down, I want to invite you to come and stick it up here. The stickies? I'm sorry. Thank you. Good enough.
Apparently I need directional help for my
No, there's no direction, no right or wrong. That's another really cool thing about this curriculum is that there's no right or wrong way to do it. Everybody has their own path to recovery, and we really embrace that with RAP. It doesn't matter how we get there, just that we do. And mine, I'm not gonna lie, has been kind of swirly at times, but we get there, thankfully. So for my wellness in my life, I hope. And if you all don't mind, I'm going to read a couple of them. People will respect each other. Wouldn't that be nice if everybody did that?
I would love that.
For my wellness in my life, I hope to have a healthy body and less anger, to be a good kid. To be a good kid. For my wellness in my life, I hope that I can finally help my son to be able to succeed in life in spite of his mental health issues. Well, let me tell you. You can be very successful despite having mental illness, because Emily and I both stand here with you all today with multiple diagnoses between the two of us. And this class, this curriculum, is what has helped us to be able to learn how to advocate better for ourselves and to grow and learn more about our mental health and be able to also turn it into a career.
Right. And success does look different for all of us. Like my vision of what it would be for myself to be successful and what Crystal's is vastly different. And I think that's just so beautiful about this curriculum is we're all different. We're human beings. Our paths are never going to be the exact same. So let's walk them through and taking our own journey. My success has nothing to do with hers. And I think we have a hard time, as humans to realize that we can't put ourselves up there where someone else is at because that's not who you are.
Success for me some days is getting up and being able to take a shower. Success some days is not getting up and just staying in the bed. There's no right or wrong way to do it, and Emily's right. There's no path that's going to be the exact same because we are all different people. So with saying that we've been able to turn it into careers, Emily and I both, whenever we were introducing ourselves, told you guys that we are certified recovery peer specialists. What that means is that we take our lived experience, what we've been through in our lives, and we use that to help others who may be experiencing things that were similar to us. So we can take our experiences with our mental health and go forward and talk to folks about what worked, what didn't work, how we got through that, and help them navigate through that too. We are, with it being a certified position, it's certified through the Florida Certification Board, so we did have to do 500 hours of peer support work, which is where we were working one-on-one or in groups with folks. We had to take several hours of training. This is one of them. RAP was one of them. It's a 16-hour training, but it can be done in 2 days, and we also split it up into weeks, 8 and 12-week programs. And then we had to take a test. So we had to drive all the way to Tallahassee and take this 100-and-something question test to be able to get certified at the end of it. But again, we've been able to turn our lives into careers using this work, though. Right. So we've talked about for my wellness in my life, what we hope for. And we want to spend some time focusing on self-advocacy because we've learned that a lot of times we don't know how to advocate for ourselves, even though we know how to help advocate for other people. So, Emily,
This is my favorite, just because I never realized, even as a mom, I could advocate for myself. We tend to put ourselves on the back burner. I say we, but for me, I'm a fixer. I try to fix everybody around me, and I tend to forget about myself. So I learned that I could advocate not just for myself at home, but I could advocate for my children in different situations. I could advocate for myself at work. And I've learned to just step out, and sometimes it's uncomfortable to be that advocate, especially when you're having to do it for yourself or for someone else, to somebody that is, above you with it. So self-advocacy is just, it was, to me, my life changer when I started this program because I didn't know how to do that. I didn't know that it was okay to do that until I was like, wow, I can do this. I'm more than just this person that people can just walk over, and I can speak up for myself when I needed to do that. And it was appropriate. It's not like me being ugly to somebody or being rude or whatever. It's okay. So, with all that being said, what are some avenues, some places, people that you can advocate for yourself in?
Like, what are systems that you need to advocate for yourself in? School system, healthcare, medical care. All right, so school systems. And medical care. I didn't say this earlier, but I feel like we should now. So you can't see it maybe in the back there, but there's this little dot up here. This is my spell check button. So if I spell something wrong and I push this, you don't see it. It's not really there. So yeah, just pretend like it's not there because we do have spell check, just like a computer. Where are some other places or some other things that you need to do to advocate for yourself? What was it? Recreational facilities? Relationships, yes, all of them. All right. Normally my handwriting's a whole lot prettier than this. So the school system, before we got started today, I was talking to one of the folks that's here about kids are not my thing. I have kids. I like them. I like other people's kids, but only for short amounts of time, right? Because I've learned to advocate for myself when it comes to my abilities as a human with children. But the school system is one of those things where I did not understand how to advocate. My son, whenever we were going in to look at getting him an IEP and starting out with our 504 plan, I did not know that you can have someone with you that is knowledgeable about that to help you advocate for yourself or for your child. Did not know that there are people in these peer positions, like Emily and myself, that can go in with you to help advocate for your kid. Especially when you're going into this and people are throwing all this language at you that you are just really unfamiliar with, and it's super overwhelming, you can have someone with you that helps. And then in the health and medical system, that's a whole nother ballgame. So there are health advocates as well in different hospital settings. With insurances, there's an advocate usually with most health insurances that can help too. What are some other places or some other ways that you might need to advocate for yourself? The legal system, yes. What about at work? Got to learn how to advocate for ourselves at work. Have to learn how to be assertive and not aggressive. That was a hard road to learn how to navigate.
We have this theory called the Oreo theory. You hit somebody with the tough stuff first, and then you throw in something real sweet and smooth, and then you hit them again with the other stuff. So they're stuck on the sweet and smooth, but they also get your point across that, okay, this is what this person needs. Cool, and they're not offended by it. So we Oreo them sometimes. Especially when you're super introverted and don't want to step out of said comfort zone and you're doing it afraid. I Oreo them quite a bit because I get scared.
So we know some of the places where we need to learn how to advocate for ourselves. Let's talk about what is our personal responsibility. Will you go hang this one up? Somebody said something? Did you say something? No? Okay, sorry. When I say, Emily, I think, said it earlier, when I say I'm a fixer, does everybody understand what I mean by that? No? Okay, I'm going to explain. So, will you finish writing this for me? Kind of, could be. But as a fixer, I can listen to what someone is saying, what their problem is, whatever it is that they're trying to get me to help with, and while they're still talking to me, in my head, I'm fixing it. I am a fixer by nature, and I've had to work very hard to understand what is my responsibility and what is not. Sometimes we don't need people to fix. Sometimes we just need them to listen. And sometimes I just need you to be. Just breathe. Just sit beside me and breathe. I don't want you fixing my problems. So I had to learn that for myself because I am a fixer. So personal responsibility. What does this look like? What is your personal responsibility? What is your responsibility? What is it? The cat box? So taking care of your pet? Okay. Taking care of my pets. Sometimes I put that on somebody else at my house. I got a lot of pets, not gonna lie. So taking care of my pets. What's your personal responsibility? What is something that you know that you are responsible for that no one else is?
I always say when I describe this to people, if I can't touch it, it's not something that I should be responsible for in that exact moment.
Yeah, this is all we control, right?
Because other than that, at some point, especially with my anxiety, if I can't physically touch it, control it right this moment, then it's not my personal responsibility in this moment. I can't reach it, it's not for me today.
So you're talking about like your own, like taking care of your own financial responsibility?
Yeah.
Yes.
Your finances are your responsibility?
It rolls into absolutely every little thing that, could be giving you any type of stress or any type of things that'll combat with your wellness.
So, my finances? Setting boundaries. How much fun is that? Right? Super hard, setting boundaries. You are not even kidding. I know, it took me till I hit 30 to understand that everybody else's opinion about what I'm doing with my life is not important. As long as I know that I'm doing right, I'm okay. Yes, ma'am. Okay, so treating others with respect and dignity, absolutely. Yes, treating others and yourself with respect and dignity. Projecting on you. So my emotions get the absolute best of me quite frequently. And in treating others with respect and dignity, even if they are disrespectful to me, I have had to learn to not react in a negative way back. And I'm trying to teach my children to do the same thing. Just because they're ugly to you doesn't mean that you're ugly back to them. We live in LA, Lower Alabama, the South, so we say ugly when we're talking about the way that someone's behaving. So just because somebody's ugly to you doesn't mean that you're ugly back to them. Grace and mercy is what we live by. Okay, so allowing herself to put a mask on, self-care. Self-care is huge. It's a huge part of RAP. We have a whole section that we go over on self-care and what we use. For me, comedy is my self-care, right? So I got these little tiny hands, and I play with them constantly. These are on sticks, but it also comes off, so, you know. But with generalized anxiety disorder, my anxiety it can be pretty severe. So one of the things that I do for self-care is I carry around a rock. I literally carry a rock everywhere I go. I have several. I'm not gonna lie, I've been eyeballing the rocks that are on those staircases. They're really smooth. I have almost, like this morning when I went down to get coffee, I'm like, can I grab one of these rocks? They are the most attractive little smooth rocks. But I have smaller ones, and I keep them in my pockets so that I can keep it between my hands. Because when my anxiety is super high, usually my rock is cold, and my hands are really hot. So I can put it between my hands, and it grounds me. And it helps me tremendously. So my own emotions, my anxiety is my personal responsibility. I have to own it. Someone said to Emily and I both not long ago that they had the gift of anxiety. And I'm like, yes, I do. Yes, I do. We're going to look at this as a gift because it has made me become a more organized person. So we're going to look at it as a gift, right? When I talk about my grounding, something else that I use, and there's actually an example of it in that little packet that you guys have with the coloring pages. And for those of you that have just come in and joined us, we have the packets for you all too, so make sure you grab one before you leave. I use grounding, and I use something called the 5-4-3-2-1 method. If my anxiety is very high, I will look around the space that I'm in, the room, outside, wherever, and I look for 5 things that I can see. So I identify 5 different things, And I look for 4 things that I can touch, so I can actually feel them, 3 things that I can hear, 2 things that I can smell, and 1 thing that I can taste. And if I can't taste anything, I think about like my favorite flavor, my favorite food. It is a 30-second internal thing. Nobody knows I'm doing it. And it calms me down tremendously, usually. And it's something that I've started using even with my kiddos. My youngest had to get stitches not long ago and was about to have a cow sitting there getting her stitches. And I'm like, all right, we grounding now. And she started doing it internally. It's super useful. Yes, ma'am. I wish that I had developed that, but no. So part of WRAP, when we talk about the self-care piece or what we use as our action plans for whatever's going on, my anxiety is a big trigger for me. So my action plan for that is my grounding techniques that I use. So when we go through this curriculum, you build that for yourself. We have these papers. We do this at the front of the room. So, goodness gracious. We will take a piece of paper like this, and then you would have a folder in front of you that also has the same paper. And we'll half the paper. On one half, you have stressors or triggers, and then on the other half is your action plan. So another thing for me is certain sounds. I had an experience with a really bad relationship, and when I left that relationship, I noticed that this ringtone, one particular ringtone on a cell phone, would stop me dead in my tracks to the point that I just could not move. So I identified that as one of my stressors. And then my action plan for that was to learn how to turn it off until I was able to turn that ringtone on and listen to it so many times that it no longer bothered me. But it took me a long time to get there. So as you go through, turn it off. You're welcome. As you go through this, you're usually in a room, depending on, Emily and I, when we teach these, depending on where we are, because we teach them in jail and in the prison, and in those rooms we usually only have about 10 or 15 people. But upwards of 20 folks can be in there with you, so if you don't have an action plan for this specific thing that triggers you, you have 19 other people in the room potentially that can help you develop an action plan. It's a beautiful process to be able to create one of these plans. Then, technology, and it's all of its beauty, there's an app that you can get on your phone. It's called the WRAP app. And you can keep your plan on your phone with you so you don't have to carry around a folder like Emily and I.
I prefer, like I said, I'm a tangible person. I like to flip through and I go and doodle and all sorts kind of things. So I like to have mine.
Yeah, you can thank Emily for that really cool packet of coloring things. That's Emily and her creativity. So personal responsibility we talked about. Let's talk about education. And I'll hang this up if you want me to. Every time. Every single time. So education. What are some ways, where are some places that you can educate yourself or that you need to educate yourself? Where can you get an education? Yes. School, absolutely. School. Someone schooled Emily and I when we were in the jail one time, and they told us that you can get an education at Penn State, but you can also get an education in the state pen. It's a different kind of education, but it's useful. So school. Where else can you get an education? Where do you need to educate yourself? Yes. Conferences, the internet, YouTube. YouTube University taught me how to change the oil in my car. I am self-sufficient now, just saying. Taught me also how to change a tire. For those of us that grow up without dads, there's a guy on YouTube that has like dad videos that typically you would think dad is going to teach you these things, right? But if you don't have a dad in the house or if you don't have someone in the home that's teaching you these things, he's got these YouTube videos and he can teach you. YouTube University. Where else can you get an education? Yes, ma'am. Absolutely. Yep, experiences. You didn't write down the state pen? I'm sorry? People who've gone before you. So like peers. Hey, it's us. So in that, I've explained to you guys what it is that you have to do to be able to become certified as a peer specialist, but also Emily told you all that she has a youth designation. I have an adult designation. Everyone that wishes to qualify for one of these has a different designation that you can qualify. There's 4. So there's adult, which means that I have lived experience as an adult with my own mental health, substance use, whatever, and I've been living in recovery for 2 years. You can, yeah. Youth means, and Emily barely made the cut, okay. Youth means you're between the ages of 18 and 29, and those experiences for you came from the ages of 14 up to 29. Then there is a family designation, which means that you have lived as a family member, helping someone navigate through their own recovery. And then there's a veteran designation for those that have served in the military. So there's many different options.
I think they're developing more now too.
They are. They're trying to develop more. We're trying to integrate into our child welfare system to be able to have folks that have navigated the child welfare system, maybe had their children removed from their care and then been reunified, to help others who are now going through that same struggle. So that's one that's being worked on now. Anybody else have any ideas where we can get education? Pretty much everywhere. Yep, you are absolutely right. And then community colleges. NAMI? Yes, okay. NAMI, if anyone is not familiar, is the National Alliance on Mental Illness. There is NAMI chapters all over. Emily and I are members of NAMI Tallahassee. Of course, you know, we have to give them credit because we absolutely adore them. They're amazing. And we do this kind of work through them too. There's a lot of support groups with NAMI and different courses that you can take to learn more about mental health. What'd you have, young lady? Therapy? Ooh, yes, girl. So, LinkedIn? Really? Okay. Yes. So since COVID, mental health has increased. We've seen an increase in substance use, in overdoses, in suicide, in many, many different places since all of this has taken place. However, the fact that mental health has come more to light during this hasn't been such a bad thing because people are starting to understand that we have to embrace this and we have to learn more about it. And in doing that, things like NAMI we've seen NAMI grow tremendously.
Especially over the past year.
Yeah, we live in a teeny tiny little rural area. I think when I looked at our census, I think it was like 190. 194, excuse me. And probably like 94 of them are our family members. We live in Caryville, Florida. So we're about 45 minutes north of Panama City Beach. Don't blink. We don't have a red light.
No.
We got a stop sign and a Dollar General. And a Dollar General, which is like our Walmart. We don't have a Walmart. But since the pandemic started, like I said, we've seen a huge increase with mental health and the education that's come from it. NAMI, saying that we live in this teeny tiny rural area, NAMI has now started working to move into our more rural areas. And we're trying to implement RAP into some of the classes that we do with NAMI.
So like for the education piece and speaking of COVID, you know, I never realized that myself enjoyed people because I'm extremely introverted. Getting up in front of people used to be terrifying until I started doing it. And then I learned from COVID that I like to speak to people and I like to people. And when it got taken away, I was like, okay, so what do I do with my hands at this point? Because I needed the interaction that we couldn't have, and we had to start doing it on Zoom and things like that, and it's just not the same.
No, last March when we went to Zoom World, I realized that my face tells you what I'm thinking before my mouth ever does. And I didn't know that about myself, but I learned that. And then very quickly, I was like, what do I do? Because the mask wasn't working, like my face was moving, and I'm like, what? So I got Botox, thinking it was gonna fix it, but what it did was it arched my eyebrows, and then my kids would ask me if I was loving it, because apparently I looked like the McDonald's M. Thank you, Emily. And I was not loving it. I was not. So had to learn that that's not the way to fix that. Our last key concept that we have is support. This one is probably my favorite because it helps people really understand what we mean by support. So whenever we go in, typically, and teach this class in jail or in prison, people will say, well, I don't have any support. And you know, it's really like a very common thing to think that you have no support, but you have yourself. And you are your biggest supporter. You are number one. You're the one that's always going to be there for you because you're you, right? So we like to write down what it is that we need for support, who can be support, or what.
A physical person. So I have this sheet, and I don't think we had time to print it out, but it's a circle. It's a circle of support, and in the middle, of course, we just mentioned it's me. I'm my first support. And on the outside, it is
Your community.
no, it's your friends or family, and then the second one is community, and the outside one is just etc. It can start with yourself. It could be a family member or a friend. Sometimes family members aren't healthy for you. You know yourself best, and if it's your parents, you know you can't get support for them, then you know not to list them down or to even think about them as a support. I know from experience. So then I go on up to what else could be support for me. Just sitting outside in the sunshine is support for myself. It depends on who you are as a person and what you need to get yourself lifted back up.
So what are some things that you all use for support, or who, or where? Devotional. Okay.
Sunshine works wonders. Even rain sometimes. It's just nice to hear the rain if it's the front.
We have like me time with friends only.
You time with friends.
So we take our time just to get together and do nothing.
Yes. Love that. Yes, ma'am. I see your hand up. Reading the Bible makes you come home. Which reminds me, the beauty of rap too is you can incorporate anything in this. If it's your religion, then you can incorporate it in there, just like that. Or you could any type of anything. It can be incorporated in to make it fit you yourself.
There's an entire spiritual piece to rap that goes in. So it embraces every type of faith, every religion. However you identify your own spirituality, it can be embraced with this curriculum too. Yes, ma'am. Swimming. Okay.
Yes, I agree with that too. I love it.
Does that mean we need to go swimming? Is that what you're trying to tell us? Yeah, I think so too. That pool's kind of enticing out there.
Yes, ma'am. A hope box? I don't like that.
Yes, ma'am.
Music,
Music.
making sure everything's really neat, and I do grass, and it's so similar to the Toolbox. So I write for
Awesome. Okay. Yes, ma'am. Playing dolls. Okay. Breathing in and out. That helps you? That's awesome. So,
I see a hand in the back. 12-step program. Yes, ma'am. Playing with fidgets, yes, absolutely. Yes, I agree. I can't wait when we get to this next part. Y'all are going to love all of it.
watching comedy. TikTok. Y'all. Sometimes I don't know how the TikTok algorithm is so accurate for my life. Because, okay, so one of my biggest things, let me say this, is quotes. There was a time in my life where the only thing that got me out of bed was my quotes that I read in the mornings. And my favorite quote is a quote by Alice in Wonderland. Do y'all know who that is? Yeah? Okay.
We are Disney,
We're close. Is Alice in Wonderland Disney? Yes. Oh, okay. Just kidding. I didn't know. But she says, I knew who I was this morning, but I've changed a few times since then. I am not the person that I was yesterday. I'm not the person, thank God, that I was 10 years ago, because 10 years ago, I was not so kind, and it took a lot of life lessons for me to become a better human being. And thankfully, I have made it to who I am today, and I look forward to who I get to be tomorrow. So one of, like I said, with my quotes, I knew who I was this morning, but I've changed a few times since then. I still, every single day, wake up and read my quotes. It's kind of like positive affirmations. So I am a good person. We have a friend that listens to a 17-minute positive affirmation video every single morning when she wakes up, and has for the last 11 years. I don't know how she does it. It's the same exact video every day. She sits outside and listens. I'm sorry? I have no idea. Something on YouTube.
but I don't remember anymore.
Something on YouTube.
It's definitely on YouTube. I tried to listen to it, and it's got like rain sounds in the back, and the guy speaks very monotoned. I used to have to drive back and forth to work, and it was like a 2-hour drive. I couldn't listen to it while I was driving because it was soothing, for sure, but not something you should be soothed to while you're trying to drive, because, not helpful. Very calming, I guess I should say.
So Emily, her favorite part, we've heard about your hope box. Emily's favorite part when we are teaching rap, and just with her own rap, is the Wellness Toolbox. And this is just, you make a list. Sometimes people make an actual box of tangible items, but we write them down when we're doing the class. What are the things that you use to keep yourself well? We've heard, just during support, playing dolls or breathing in and out. I forgot how to do that one time so many times that I just tattooed it on.
Just breathe.
Just breathe, just in case I forget.
You mentioned comedy, and that's what's like, ooh, I can't wait. So, I think it was right as COVID was happening, I had a baby, which was my bright side to the situation because the world was shut down, so I got to stay home a little bit longer with my newborn. And I discovered the show The Office. And with, after you have a baby, sometimes you go through the baby blues or sometimes postpartum depression. Well, I was touching a little bit on the baby blues. And I found The Office, and when I tell you that saved me a little bit, it saved me so much so I got a whole tattoo for it. We both did. And so, literally, in my wellness toolbox, I have The Office. On my actual box, I have Office stickers on it. Just because that is literally something that I can look at. If I need to tune out the world, I can turn that on and it's gone, and all the worries and all the stresses that I have are just on pause for a minute until I can get my thoughts straight.
So what are some things you guys have in your wellness toolbox? Essential oils. Yes, ma'am. Okay, so the pool, let's see.
What'd you say? I'm sorry. Chocolate, yes. Oh, so you're gonna.
Strings? Okay.
Yeah, being creative helps me keep my mind calm too. Photos and scans. Working out. Working out sure does.
Working out.
Playing with your fidgets, it absolutely can. Holler at me. Playing music. It doesn't have to be a box. It could be a piece of paper. It's just for me, I like to be fun. And so having this little box, I call it my show and tell box, especially when we do classes. It's just for aesthetic. I miss it. I like it.
We write them down though. When we're taking rap in the class, we write down what it is that we use for our wellness. So this is where I use my quotes, but I also use essential oils. I wish I had a pool to use. And then I also use fidgets. I would like to use chocolate more often. I think I'm going to add that to my plan. Another really cool thing about rap is that it is a living and breathing document. So you can add to this and take away whenever you want to. Again, I'm not the same person I was this morning. I've changed a few times since then. I can change my rap plan as many times as I want to.
So when doing a class, I always highly encourage people to write things down because we do train, we do change. And for me, I like to look at how I've evolved. So I keep all the pages that I've created in a book, I date them, and I put revised on. So you can have it, words.
Oh, are you wanting it? Okay.
Yes.
So
Lost all of it.
with rap, after you go through, you talk about your 5 key concepts. We talk about our wellness toolbox, our daily plan. We go through all of it. Then it ends with your crisis and post-crisis plan. So if you've gone through, you've identified what it is that has triggered you, what it is that you use as your action plans, all the way through early warning signs, when things are breaking down, then you get to your crisis and post-crisis plan. When you have these plans, this is because you've gone so far into whatever it is that you're dealing with at the time, you're unable to, on your own, reverse what it is that you've had triggering you. So when you have these crisis plans, you can make this an advanced directive, which is, you have it notarized, you can have it signed by your attorney, whatever the case may be. If you file it with the court, this plan must be followed because it's a legally binding document. It can be an advanced directive. It doesn't have to be, but you have that as an option. So there's different, all throughout the crisis plan, there's 9 different parts to it. We identify more in depth who exact supporters are. It's recommended that you have at least 5. So that's why we do support before we ever get here, because sometimes we only have us. But we do build on this. Remember, it's a living and breathing document. So we have the folks that we know are going to support us. You can identify if you were to have to go in for a stay in a mental health facility. You can identify where you would prefer to go. This is where I tell people, if you don't have passages of Malibu money, don't write passages of Malibu down thinking this is going to be legally binding and somebody has to pay for you to go, because that's not happening. But you can write down where you would prefer and why you prefer it, but you can also write down why you don't want to go here, here, and here. And the same thing with supporters too.
Who you don't want involved in your plan.
And
Everybody's healthy for us.
right. So Emily says that she likes to go back and look. When I first developed my own personal rap, I had written down several things in there, and it's comical now because I go and I have this one person identified, do not use this person. And then it says why, and I wrote, duh. If you have to ask why, you don't need to be involved in my rap plan is all I knew. But it's comical now because I look back at it and I'm like, oh yeah, duh.
Probably should put more why with the duh.
Yes. So whenever we got started today and I told you guys that it literally saved my life, it literally saved my life. This is probably one of the best things that I have ever been introduced to. And then you get to be, for 16 hours, even if you're an introvert, this lady, for 16 hours, you get to be in this space with these other people, and you learn so much about yourself through other people, and you get to walk through this with someone else. We're not telling you what to do, we're not telling you what to write down, and we're not teaching you anything in these classes. You already know all of this. We are just teaching you how to write it down. And if you're anything like me, where I can't write things down because then somebody can use it against me, I don't journal, it's not my thing, you still are able to, for some reason, we're still able to write this stuff down because it's helpful and it's going to help me be able to make sure that I can get well even if I'm not well. Yes, ma'am. Absolutely.
And it's like you said, it's not that you're teaching us stuff that we don't already know. It's that you're teaching us how to put it all together and make it into one cohesive document and plan and how to stick to it. And it's like little things like, the actions to stay healthy. Like for me, one of the things, it wasn't so much about mental health, but about physical health. Taking my medication, remember to take my medications every day so that my blood sugar wouldn't bottom out or so that my thyroid didn't go crazy, things like that.
Absolutely. I love that we have another facilitator in here. That's fantastic. It's great to know. No, not in the slightest bit. Yes, ma'am.
Can you explain how this is different, or the component when you're the family member of someone with that mental illness?
Mm-hmm.
And how are these things the same, or how can it help me as a mother of an adult with mental illness if or to do the family section?
So are you talking about to become certified as a peer specialist with a family designation?
Well, yeah.
Or make
well,
it-
sort of, but like, how does the program differ? Does it differ for the family of someone with mental illness?
Not RAP. RAP doesn't differ. You can, but whenever you take this course, you're taking it and you're building your own personal RAP. So you're thinking specifically about what it is that triggers you, or what early warning sign is for you, or what it looks like when you're breaking down personally. And this is where we're going and building it for our own selves. Now, I would encourage you to also encourage your family members to do this because it is extremely helpful. And even building them for children, your kids having these RAP plans, they're tiny humans, right? But their opinion matters, and their voice and their choice in their care still matters. And if we're teaching them at young ages to learn how to advocate for themselves, then they won't end up being adults who have to learn that when you're 30. So it is very helpful. And in being a family member of someone with a mental health problem, I grew up in a household, my grandmother had a diagnosis of paranoid schizophrenia, and I lived in the home with my grandmother. Growing up as a kid, it was my everyday life, it was my norm. And we would go through periods of wellness and periods of her being unwell, and I wasn't educated in it. And my grandmother, unfortunately, wasn't super educated in it either because mental health was not something that we were talking about enough. And if she had had this, I think it could have changed the way that her life played out for her. But even now, looking back, using my RAP plan, looking back at my childhood, I can also have a family designation as well. I just chose my adult designation, but I can look back and think about things that I did as a kid dealing with those sorts of mental health diagnoses, and I put those in my plan too. Because I know what kept me well then, and I can still use them to this day.
And if whomever, your family member doesn't, it doesn't happen. But the more I talk about it, the more she absorbs. So I just share the little bits and pieces that I know. I've shared it so much with my sisters now that they also want to take part in it, and it's not something that was normally in their realm of things that they would even be interested in doing. It's just kind of hyping it up, because it's so wonderful once you get in there and get in class and learn all the whole thing. It's intoxicating for you to learn all these things. And I always just share anything that they feel express something to me. I share, well, this is what I would do with my situation. If it was for me, this is what I would do. Because you can't tell somebody what they should do. We don't want to do that.
We don't should on them.
Correct.
We don't
So
should on
we
people.
just I try to be like, well, if it was me, if I was in your shoes, this is what I would do. But you do what you need to do. You know?
So saying this, and then we're going to take any questions that you guys have. If rap is something that you're interested in, if you think this is something that you're going to want to do for yourself, or you want to encourage your family members to do it, we're located in the Panhandle of Florida. We would be so happy to welcome you up into one of our courses. However, if you're not in our area, Emily and I have our contact information. It's in your book that you guys got in your bags today. We have our business cards outside on that table. If you are not in our area, we are so very fortunate to have a contact in every single area in the state of Florida. Everywhere you go here, we can find you a facilitator. If you go outside of the state of Florida, depending on where you are, we have some facilitators, but the Copeland Center also on their website does keep a list of their facilitators in everywhere that they're at. And once you take the class and you get your own rap, if you feel like it would be something that you would like to go on to facilitate, I fortunately have gotten my designation that I'm an advanced level facilitator, so I can train trainers. So I do them quarterly or biannually in the Panhandle. I do teach these classes for folks to be able to become facilitators themselves, so you can take part in those if you wish to do so. Keep our contact information so that if this is something that you guys are interested in doing, we can help you get connected with the right folks in your area. Yes, ma'am.
So that was one of my questions. How do you do this? You have to go to a class, and then you have to write the plan inside of the class.
Yes.
So you start your plan, but it's never going to be finished in the class because
Oh, yeah, no.
I'm still working on mine to this day because it's ever evolving. But you start it, they give you the premise, and if you have any questions about some of the things they go over or we go over, they'll answer them, and that way you'll have a clearer picture of what what you need to write down.
What's the minimum age? 13-year-old could do it?
There's not a minimum age.
There's a youth rap, there's a teen rap, there's a plethora of different courses that it's geared towards.
Yeah.
Have it in rural places even?
Oh, yeah, we are rural. So we have them in this place called Westville. They don't have nothing, not even a cell phone signal.
Is there a charge for the class?
So I was fixing to mention that. It
Sometimes.
depends on the area and who puts it on. For us, we don't charge for the class.
Ours are always free.
Right.
And again, we welcome y'all to come up and take them with us. We are always.
Georgia, if I'm going that far, that's far.
Georgia?
Southwest Florida.
Oh, well, no, not too far. I'd be willing to go to Georgia too.
Right there at the border.
Yes, we are.
Yes.
Almost in the, Southwest Florida.
We have contacts in Southwest Florida. So sometimes there's charges, sometimes there's not. Like Emily said, ours are free. And then also, like Emily mentioned, there's rap for everything. So you have youth rap, you have just your regular Red Book rap. There is rap for anxiety, rap for depression. There's rap for COVID-19 that just came out. That's a free book that you can get on the Copeland Center's website. There's rap for anything. Rap for reentry, so if folks are reentering from incarceration. Absolutely. There is rap for people who have family members with disabilities. There is a rap for everything you can imagine. So if you are interested in it, we highly encourage you to reach out so that we can put you in connection with the right folks. You can create a rap without going to this course, but you can download the app, you can go on the Copeland Center's website, you can purchase the materials yourself if you wish to do so, but you're not going to get the full experience unless you attend a course.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
I'll get it.
It's okay. Does anybody, yes, ma'am. Okay. Absolutely, yes, ma'am. Yep.
So I just heard that it's for families with disabilities. Do they, is it, accommodated anyway for, like, so my son has autism and depression, so, and intellectual disabilities. So is it modified so that they can participate?
Um, it can be modified for anything. Yes, absolutely. Now, also, if you were to take this class, you could help one-on-one walk your son through building his own. And you could modify it in whatever way you needed to be able to fit what his needs are.
I have other family members with those exact same diagnoses, and four daughters, 6 grandchildren, myself, 6 diagnosed or have my identification. This has helped our family immensely. You can really wrap it around your very own family's needs. It's so versatile. It is so good stuff.
Absolutely. Yes, ma'am. So the original WRAP Seminar 1 is 16 hours. If you are going to become a facilitator, it is a 40-hour class, so it's a full week. It's very intense. And then if you are going to become an advanced level facilitator, which means you can train the trainers, that is something that is only done by the Copeland Center in Westchester, Pennsylvania, or Dublin, Ireland. I would like to go there. But some folks have been successful in procuring a contract to bring the Copeland Center to them. We are one of those folks. We got to train 16 people 2 years ago to become advanced level trainers here in the state of Florida. So we grew our community tremendously during that time. The Copeland Center is the organization that Mary Ellen Copeland developed that created WRAP. And so they're like the end-all be-all. Their website shows you where all the facilitators are and gives you links to buy the curriculum and stuff too. They don't anymore.
Not anymore, that's right.
They sold it.
Just kidding. Just kidding.
Does anybody have any more questions? Awesome. We thank you all so very much for being here with us today, and we have one request, if you don't mind. We want to take a selfie. Will y'all be in a photo with us? Awesome. You will? Are you going to smile? Okay.
Are we going to do it from their seats?
We are.
Okay.
I am just going to turn this around, and we're going to take it on the count of 3, okay? Make sure everybody's here. All right, 1. Everybody smile. 2, 3. Awesome. Thank you, guys. Have a great rest of your day. Thank you.